in the community. We're here to talk about why it's important to keep walking this road together and how we can continue to support the power and brilliance of women of color organizers and change agents. So we have about 2-ish hours of programming. We'll wrap right before 12. Just giving you a quick heads up. We are here to learn, listen about some of the really beautiful efforts resourcing women of color movement leaders and to make an ask. We have a little bit over a month to raise $250,000 for a transformative national summit for these powerful women of color organizers. Many of them are on the stage representing multiple movements, various power building organizations across the country. They are at the door knocking, ready to attend and then do the work after that summit to move into different streams of collective organizing and resourcing for themselves and their communities. And that's our benchmark. And so we'll tell you a little bit more about how we can all show up for this 150 women of color squad who are dope, and also our gender expansive leaders who are also in our community. So we hope you guys will join us there. And finally, to really ground that we believe in holding that up, which holds you up. So because we are people of ancestral tradition and legacy, we always look to our teachers, our elders who have taught us and gotten us here. And for many of us, that is Rusia, and she needs rest. And so we're here to also invite you into collective action to resource her sabbatical, her rest, so she can stay a lifelong movement leader and container keeper for all of us in our communities. And we firmly believe in that. So we're so grateful you joined us. We're going to talk a little bit about Mamukti and what it is that we are here to do. So I'm going to invite Simran to play a little video that tells us a little bit about this really powerful organization.
Mamukti advances systemic change
by resourcing and elevating the leadership of
women, especially women of color and gender-expansive people,
to acutely align across movements. We do this by nurturing new,
profound ways of being, creating cultures of healing, solidarity, and action.
We seed new ways of leading, centered in joy and love,
that are rooted in well-being and wholeness, justice and interdependence. We envision a future where women and gender-expansive leaders,
especially Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color,
lead our movements with full resourcing,
cultural rootedness, and political power.
In this future, collective self-determination has taken root, and movements thrive
through sustainable leadership ecosystems.
If you hear something you like, let me get an amen. Finger snap, si carajo, whatever you feel that is affirming. This is our journey. So to honor your timing, if you want to actually grab the mic a little bit,
good morning, everyone. Good morning, good folk. Coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia this morning.
Gina, thank you for being here. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about why you're joining us at the Ella Summit and why you believe this space and all of the gifts and the brilliance you bring is important for movement leaders in this moment. Just a small question, Gina.
Well, thank you. That's very gracious of you for saying so. And I will share that for the last couple of years, I've been anchoring in this work of grief doula, being a grief doula, mostly to folk who hold folk, the holders of holders, and the holders of holders of holders. That's been my work. And what that looks like is holding folk that hold organizations or are doing work on the front lines of myriad social justice movements. I mean, in my tradition and for my work, it's all really one thing, right? But I do work with folk who are doing immigrant justice and that are leading fights for trans justice and for bodily autonomy, of course, you know, reproductive justice. And I work with folk who are leaders in philanthropy. And that work looks like helping folk, and please, you know, of course, for time, this is a broad brush, but helping folk to locate where grief gets lodged in the body. These folk tend to make sure that the people that they're holding have opportunities to move grief, to be with their grief, to source grief as the power that I know it be, but not for themselves, right? And so often when I get to or get called in to hold space with folk, it's because they are at the edge of their capacity or frankly have, you know, fallen off what they think of as the edge of their capacity. When folk feel like they can't go another step, like I've held space with folk who have said, I thought I was about to die. And grief can feel that way. The weight of grief, you know, it ossifies around the heart and in the liver and in the lungs. And of course, I'm speaking through a spiritual lens and through the invisible. But the feeling and the weight in the body is the same. Like as what I'm speaking, like I cannot go another day. And so I do this work through ritual. Some people use the language of practices. I ask folk to use the language from their tradition that feels good to them. And that looks like peer work. You know, we do something I call kitchen table grief circles, where we pair up folk in groups of 4, if there are enough people, in groups of 2, it's fine, to talk about your origin story, what shapes your relationship to grief and grieving, and how that impacts your present day. So the mission, the overarching mission is to normalize grief and grieving. And then we use it all the time to create things. Why not do it on purpose? You know, go turn toward it, look for it, source it. It is a power as well. And I think that might be a longer conversation, maybe. And look at this. It's not even 5 minutes. Look at that elevator speech.
So today is a beautiful opportunity. I don't want to like turn down the energy. We already know what we're facing, right? And I just said it for those who might get the recording who are not aware, right? But this is our radical opportunity to move as information in collective action, to hold up the women and gender non-binary folks who are literally shaping change work in our communities, and to meet them at the scale of support that they are absolutely needing yesterday. Because it is so, the cliff is so high, the mountain is so high, y'all. So I want to just take a minute to reflect on my own journey and talk to Rusi about it, because Rusi is like a sister, auntie, friend. So Ruth, you know, you met me when I was baby funder, right? Yep. Funding in communities that I come from with the same lived experiences and my sisters, my family, my friends, my community, right? And I knew at some point, one of us needs to be in these places so the money could come to our people. So I said, okay, I have some skills, let me go there, right? And it was oppression on 1000, right? I was afraid I can't stay in this sector. This is crazy. I was at a foundation. I will name no names. Some of my sisters worked at these places too. And it was overwhelming, the level of internalized oppression, white supremacy, everything. So I was like, damn, my people need these resources and I'm not sure I can make it. I think parallel stories for organizers too. I am being asked, I've been trained, I've been invested in, I must continue even though I'm feeling like shit. Can I actually do this? This is a lot. So tell me a little bit about who you are and who comes into the room with you. And what did you see when you first met me and women like me, when we knocked on the door? You said you were a place of support. What did you see?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucia Wahuton. My pronouns are she, her, or Lucia. Obviously, I bring my beloved mother into the space. who I would not be here without, and her mother, so my grandmother, and my paternal great grandmother, who my mother often told me I was very much like. Manuela and I knew each other before we actually met. And so often is the case that Wanda Salaman is the connective tissue that brings people together. And so we talked and were trying to figure out how we could be in each other's lives. And she was really busy, I was really busy, as it turned out. And we didn't meet until years later. And I had realized that through all the hundreds of people that I was working with, doing trainings, retreats, coaching with, there was a theme for women and women of color, which was no matter how badass they were, no matter how much work they did, no matter how much like real material change they were creating and had created, the theme across all these women of color were unworthiness and not feeling like what they were doing was enough. So it was that moment that I realized that this was my life's work, that my life's purpose was to do the thing that my great grandmother did, to do the thing that my maternal grandmother did, to do the thing that my mother was doing, which was in service of women, in service of women who were being denied or disenfranchised in some way, shape, or form. And if you know Manuela, she's a powerful badass. Mm-hmm. And the first thing when we met face to face, it was like, if you can imagine what it would feel like if your heart exploded out into the world and it touched everyone, I feel like that's how I felt being around you. And you have so much powerful wisdom, not just intellectual, because you are really smart and brilliant. If you don't know that, you will come to know that. But the wisdom and the power and the brilliance really began in your heart for me. Like, I feel like that's the source of it. And I could feel so much tiredness in you. And so all these themes that were happening is now being reflected by someone who made it, right? If we look at the capitalistic lens in which we think about how people make it, you fit that. And there was still sort of like an ache that I could feel from Manuela about not feeling like there was enough, like I'm enough, the work that I'm doing is enough. It was always like, no, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going. I see so much of myself, and then you see so much of me, like there's just an exchange here. And it happens often. It doesn't matter how old we are, it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are. When we bring people together, we see that there's so much connective tissue that binds us together. Just by virtue of being a woman in the US context, there's just a lot going on there, right?
Thank you so much, Manuela, and always beautiful to hear, the legacy and origins of the work. If you missed it, here's Manuela's introduction slide. And we're here today, y'all, to really talk about and raise resources for the Ella Summit. I really wanted to talk about why the Ella Summit, why now, and what is the legacy that we're building on. We're really building on the work that Manuela and Rucia spoke about, that those seeds of warriors for embodied liberation that have now blossomed into the Ella Summit. And we're gathering in this moment. We're gathering April 17th through the 19th in Philadelphia to do a number of things. We're gathering to ground, to release grief, as Gina spoke about, to reimagine what our future, our collective liberated future can look like, And we're gathering to build sustainability and resilience. We know, based on everything that Rucia and Manuela spoke about, that women of color, gender expansive leaders are carrying our movements. They are, as Rucia said, creating the material change for communities. They are at the front lines fighting the fight, and they deserve to rest. They deserve spaces to reinvigorate. They deserve spaces to build their sustainability. They deserve spaces that don't just count on their resilience, but help build their resilience. And we look at this Ella Summit as endurance training. We think about the fact that for movement work to be sustained in the long haul, we can't just rely on or ignore the humanity of the individuals that take up the mantle and do the work, that we have to center their humanity. And the space of the Ella Summit is an opportunity for leaders to drop in, to reconnect to themselves, to other leaders, and to really think about that endurance training, that ability to be sustained and supported in the work that they do. I think about Warriors for Embodied Liberation that I and many folks you'll hear from today have had the honor of being a part of. And I think about how that work was also shaped by the consulting work that Rucia has done over many, many years. One example of this, many of you know, if you don't know, find out, know about United We Dream, an essential movement organization, an essential immigrant rights organization. And if we were to look at the trajectory and the work of United We Dream, we would find that from 2008 through 2016, Rucia was a primary support to that organization. She did everything from staff trainings to coaching to leadership development to board retreats, staff retreats. And, you know, when I think about what an essential movement organization like United We Dream needed to prepare for what we saw in 2016 and then 2018, I have to be grateful, of course, for those leaders and for the brilliance and the work that they were doing, but also that they had Rucia in support of them to think about how to infuse somatics and somatic practice into the work, the campaign work, and the organizational development work that they did. And so, you know, when we think about endurance training, this isn't just anecdotally something that we imagine or that, you know, we are thinking about in an aspirational sense, but we're really understanding that through the generations of work that Rucia and this organization has been doing, that we have effective practice, that we have roadmaps to be able to think about what this endurance training looks like, to think about what collective care and healing requires, to think about what happens and what is possible when we bring together women of color leaders and gender expansive leaders in a space like the one we will create in April. And I think I'll just leave you with this quote at the very bottom from one of our last summit participants. We gathered in 2024 as a post-election refuge. We had over 109, I believe, folks at the summit, 98% women of color, which is already just pretty phenomenal and unheard of. But this individual said to us in their feedback, this was not just a conference. It was an experience of what liberation is like in practice. And that's really what we see this Ella Summit being. It is an opportunity for us to center our humanity and to really practice liberation, to practice radical love, to practice and co-create the world that we want to see. So I have the pleasure of also teeing up two short videos from two of our other keynote speakers. As Gina said, she'll be joining us to be in ceremony and ritual around grief. And you already heard directly from Gina about all of the brilliance and the wisdom that she'll carry into our space. I also want to just, and I'll introduce both and then play their videos. So Karen Washington is another one of our keynote speakers and VIPs, very special guests. She'll be talking with us about radical imagination. And Karen, as many of you know, is a community activist, urban gardener, a visionary community builder, a founder of Bugs, the Black Urban Growers Summit, and co-owner of Rise and Root Farm. So in just a second, I'll tee up a short video from our sister, as she affectionately says, Mama K. And then you'll also hear from Stacey Haynes, who, you know, if you've been in and around somatics for any amount of time, the roads lead back to Stacey. Stacey is a leader in the field of somatics. And has been for over 30 years now with Soma Social Justice. She's a senior teacher and core contributor to the Strozzi Institute.
Hi, everybody. This is Karen Washington, aka Mama K. I'm excited to be a speaker at the Ella Conference this year in April. You know, folks ask me, it's like, Karen, look, why are you excited to be speaking? Because the time is now. The time is now for us as women of color to speak up, to speak out, to be noticed. For so long, we've been in the background. Our voices have been silent, but no more. No more. This is a time of celebration of our leadership, of our power. I am so excited to throw down the gauntlet and to make sure that people understand, especially women, how powerful we are. Collectively, we can make change. Collectively, we can move mountains. Collectively, we can shift this narrative of not being seen. And so if you're out there, come join me. Come join us as we take on this mantle of leadership, of power, of change. Because the way this country is going to be dealt with is women. We are the ones that are going to make change. We are the ones that are going to exhibit our power. So join me and so many others like me as we come and to rejoice who we are as women, to celebrate who we are in April. I am ready to light that fire and throw down that gauntlet to make sure that people understand who we are. Hopefully you'll join me. Support the work that we're doing to make sure that we are seen, that we are heard, that we are rejoiced. So thank you so much. Again, this is AKA Mama K, ready to getting on. Thank you. Bye now.
Hi all, Stacey Haynes here. I'm really sorry that I am not able to join you all. I am on the road and can't be there. I wanted to add my voice around and my support around the Ella Summit. I participated last year and I'm very committed to participate again this year. I have never seen a space that is primarily women of color, organizers, organizational leaders, really committed to uplifting each other and committed to their own development work, both leadership development, coalition and campaign development, right? Political work, and then really deep inner work, which is what's being led there as well. So I think it's a very important place. It's an essential place at this particular moment, given everything that we're contending with together. And yeah, I hope you support it. I'm supporting it. I'm committed. I hope you support it. Thanks so much.
The very first woman organizer I ever met was Wanda Salaman. I grew up on Southern Boulevard in Longwood, and real talk, my mother was, she had a mental illness. She was a schizophrenic. So sometimes the children were out in the street trying to find my mother. And on Intervale Avenue, there was this beautiful, powerful Black Boricua woman who was often in front of her office, talking to the kids, talking to the mamas. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Like, just loving, just shining love and a canopy. So I would love you, Wanda, to just share your story on why Mama K Like, why are you excited about this?
So my name is Wanda Salaman. I'm the director of Mothers on the Move. And about the space around well, why it's so important. So Lucia have been doing well from the beginning. And every time Lucia used to tell me, oh, you want to join well? I was like, nah. But I was sending out a whole bunch of people to join well, but I was like, nah, no meditation. So, but I will send people because I knew that it's good for them. But I didn't think it was good for me at that moment until I had like a breakdown in 2019. Like, okay, I better now I better take care of myself. So in the wall space, it's like everybody is treated in a way that you're taking care of each other. And most of the time we're organizing is like, yo, this is all the stuff. How many people you bring into a meeting? What are you doing for the movement? What are you doing? But we never take care of ourselves, and it's breaking us down. So I saw that in this space, they were going to take care of me. So that's why I applied. Who's gonna have my bag when I went through my stuff was organized to have my bag. They fundraised for me and then made sure that I was able to stay home and take care of myself. And who was going to be in that room was organizers that was going to take care of me. So also the summit is a place that is our place to gather. I've been to so many different summits, and most of the summit is like after you do the workshop, then you go and drink and you have fun. But this is a different type of summit. You do the workshop, you heal, and you work on yourself. So this is why I care about the summit.
Peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Simone Davies-Jangor. I am a co-founder of Jahaji and executive director there. And also a longtime student of Lucia. I met Lucia in 2010 when we were both working at SJL. And Lucia became my coach and really supported me on my healing journey. So Lucia's teachings through the WELL program have deeply shaped how I lead and how I sustain myself in this work. The Ella Summit is an extension of this, a much needed space where women of color and gender expansive leaders ground ourselves in healing, accountability, and values-based, purpose-driven leadership, not as abstract ideas, but as daily practice. We're living in unprecedented times, y'all. Women of color are leading many movement building organizations, as you all know, as you all are in this room. And we're going in hard. We're going in hard with the mutual aid, with the rapid response, with the organizing, and this is all to keep our community safe. And with that intensity, ruptures are inevitable. I leaned on these teachings in some of the hardest leadership moments at Jahaji, and they've helped me to stay rooted and steady. What I've learned and what I hope others can learn at this year's summit is how to stay grounded in those intense and difficult moments, right? How to center our healing and our humanity, how to love ourselves and how to believe in our worth, how to lean into generative conflict with love, how to repair, how to stay in right relationship, and how to continue the work for the long haul. Supporting the 2026 Ella Summit means investing in the care and the resilience and the wisdom that sustain our movements, especially in this political moment. Because movements don't only need strategy, they need leaders who are whole enough to carry the work forward.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julissa Shikha Eja with Director of Base Building at Midtown, New York. Lucia is my mother movement. She's been with me for the last 25 years. I'm a mother of two, but I also became a grandmother recently. Thank you, Lucia. I was in another path, becoming a school psychologist, and then I met Lucia and I became a community organizer, and I've been ever since. Many of the people leading that fight in the front are women of color. The last summit in 2024 couldn't have come at a better time. Right after the elections, when we had to deal with another Trump administration. It was powerful to be in a space and in practice with over 100 women of color to hold us, learn, and lead on each other. I was able to bring back to my organization, Make Their Own New York practices and workshops that are helping us get through the next 4 years, this authoritarian regime. I'm a graduate from the Leadership Embodied Organizing and also a graduate from the Warrior Embodied Liberation Program that are programs that are founded after the summit. These programs have been super instrumental to me and transformative, not just in my professional life, but also like in my personal life. Literally is what kept me going and supported me through one of my hardest times with the tragic loss of my son's father. So it was the Waldorf community that like helped me and took care of me so that I could get through. And then also the Leo program also has taught us like how we organize from our communities, because a lot of us that are doing community organizing are part of the community, and that looks different. The WAL program also taught me the importance of self-acceptance, self-love, and self-care. Even if you don't show up for yourself, you cannot show up for your loved ones or for your community. So as right now, I'm co-leading a department with mostly women of color organizers who are the front lines, helping our membership. Many of our members right now are literally being kidnapped off the streets. Like we have to literally live the trauma like every other day. And how are we taking care of ourselves, right? So having this space, the summit, the Ellis Summit coming up in a few months is super beneficial for our communities right now that are living through really, really hard situations. We need spaces to be able to support one another, hear, inspire us, and get us through one another, and be able to help us and hold us through these like difficult times. So please bring out your coins, support us. You know what I'm saying? We really need this now more than ever.
Hi, buen día, good morning, everyone. My name is Cecilia Cortez. I use she, her, hers, ella pronoun. I'm with the New York Women's Foundation. I'm very happy to be here. Honor. Thank you, Kelly, for hosting us. And I'm also a product of the Wanda Connected Tissue Federation. At the New York Women's Foundation, of course, we funded the intersection of gender, race, and economic justice. And New York is our love, our care, our space. But recently, we also identified the need to go deeper into hyperlocal strategies. And I was trying to understand the Bronx, because there's a lot of things that you hear, and there's a lot of data, which tends to be very biased in how it is presented. So I started going to rallies, showing up to rallies and talking to people, and I met Wanda, and we started thinking slowly about how the foundation could commit real dollars to the Bronx, and to go to the Bronx, not because of what's lacking, but because the opportunities that were there. And we identify a great opportunity to fund women doing important work around a caring economy, an economy that cares for people and that cares for the planet. And we've been there since 2023. Wanda introduced me to Lucia. And it's been amazing. I've been learning so much from her. She's been facilitating our space. She's been grounding us, leading, aligning our values with our purpose, so that we can move the money in a way that is consequential, but also caring to the people doing the work. So it has been really amazing to work with Lucia, and Mamuti has been also part of the how we inform this strategy. And last year and this year, we were able to do some funding to make sure that some of the leaders on this cohort of organizations could attend ELA. We've heard from them that these spaces are important to not to take a break, but to step into a different space in a different time frame, and to really nurture community. And I think something that I also learned from doing this work is that sometimes funders will say like, oh, let's fund coalitions, let's support collective work. But the way that the nonprofit industrial sector is designed really goes against collaboration. So it's not enough to say that you're going to fund coalitions. You need to also fund the things that are going to break the systems that are there to separate us, right? So it's not enough to do general operating support, which is something that we need to do more. And unfortunately, I couldn't raise my hand to say that we're doing enough to support women as a funder. I think we're doing decent work, but definitely it's not enough because the need is huge. And this is just one step. I wish I could bring more people than this small cohort of women that we are sponsoring for the summit and that we were able to sponsor last year. So I invite my fellow funders, my fellow philanthropy partners here to think together if that's a possibility, if that can help. Maybe can we do something together as a collective of funders to put these opportunities up front and the benefits of investing in women and in the leadership of women. Because as you were saying, Julissa, I think, and particularly in some areas where women lead, the outcomes and the processes are so different than when men lead. And, you know, we welcome our allies and our friends and men in movement, but I think this time to have women leading and taking care and like really being listened to. And it's time for us to break some systems and make new rules so that the benefits are for the whole community, the benefits are for everyone. My daughter is here today. I want her also to benefit from a movement that is led by women of color, because I think it's gonna make a better future for her because it's looking pretty challenging. So that's my call. Please, let's do more. It's not enough.
I mean, the beautiful thing about it is, y'all, is only 10 of us. It only takes 10 of us funders to say we're each gonna pool 25K. We can do this, right? Between those of us here. It only takes 5 of us to say, I'm in and I'm gonna go get somebody who didn't make it to this briefing. And, you know, it's like, I love our power. We always make $1 out of 15 cents. Like, and also it's like, why do we always have to stretch so hard? Right? And so I'm encouraging all of us, even if you know you can't, if you know 5 people who can, connect us. I dropped Lucia's email in the chat. Jump on board. This is a lifelong traveling community because we stay showing up for each other across generations, across personal, professional, all the things, because that's what it's going to take to make sure that we don't see a massive outflux of organizers from our sector who hold so much wisdom. And that is what happened after the pandemic. People were burnt and they were asked to hold way too much. And just for their mental, emotional, and biological spiral, they off ran. And I'm glad they took their break and they took. But that was a loss of major knowledge and organizing strategy and skill sharing. And so we are facing that kind of paramount attack and challenge on our communities. And we need to keep and support our people to stay so that the wisdom can be transferred as well.
I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Trish from the Robert Sterling Clark Foundation. I'm here with my colleague Erica, and just wanted to appreciate Manuela for bringing us together and Kelly for hosting us. But mostly, I wanted to thank Lucia and Maria and everyone from Mamukti for just holding it down for a really, really, really long time. You said 40 years, and I was like, 30. 30. I heard 40, and I was like, did you start when you were like 7? Like,
How is that possible?
But it just like really, it kind of was like a theme throughout all of the comments, and then especially what you were just saying, Cecilia, about like the difference between like healthy movements and some of what we're seeing now is this kind of work, right? It's the coalitions, like you can put anybody in a room, right? You can put anybody in a room who works on housing, you can put anybody in a room who works on immigration, but is what they're going to build something that is a different system, right? Relies on something different than the oppression that they're fighting, right? And that's work that happens in spaces like this, right? In spaces where they get to talk to each other as people, right? Where they get to confess that they're with a partner they shouldn't be with, right? And when they say that they're, you know, healing and hurting, right? And so I just want to appreciate that. You know, we support Mamukti, and this question about like, can we do more? You know, there's always more that we can do. And so I also wanted to appreciate you, Manuela, for doing the math and being like, you can ask one other person for 25K, right? Because like there is so much need right now. There's so much requests that I'll just be honest that it can feel like I'm not sure how we're gonna take care of everybody. But when you say like you just have to ask one other person for 25K, then it feels like, okay, like who do I know, right? Who's the one person that I know that you know, can just make that happen? And so that's my commitment, like to keep finding other people, right, who know that this is the right thing, even if they're feeling overwhelmed, and to move more resources. So thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I have a question. Well, one, I want to introduce myself. My name is Kelly. I use she, her, anything loving pronouns. And I consider myself a part of this beautiful family, like for years. And these folks have helped raise me and my kids, quite literally. So I think one thing I want to lift up is that this relationship, this web building is very intentional. And money is just a very small part of it. Yeah. It's actually the least important part. And it's something that comes and it goes, but the connections last and they ripple in ways that we don't even see. Like, you know, speaking one on behalf of North Star Fund, we want to say we fully support this work. We believe in this work. We believe that it's long-term and that it's cyclical also. So it is not about this one summit. It's about creating this collectiveness and praxis, which means that we come back to it all the time and that it's just embedded in the DNA of what it is that you do. And no democracy strategy is going to win unless the people who are holding the democracy together are taken care of. And that is not happening. There is a complete narrative disconnect between this idea that we need to invest. I've seen millions of dollars flow to democracy work right here in New York and fly right over women of color. And without even making a pit stop. And so, you know, one, I will put into the room that challenge. How do you case make? We still need to make the case. And that I want to say, damn, I'm exhausted. Sorry, part of my French. Because, I join folks, who have been on multiple sides of this, right? And the case making, but that's something I'm over.
Yeah.
I'm cool with making the case, and I will continue to make the case, and I will continue to ask, and no does not deter me. It doesn't deter us. So for North Star Fund, for me, I'm also resourcing to attend the space because I need it for my own well-being and for me to be able to be there for my family, but also for the work. And so in terms of North Star Fund, we're also putting this out to our networks to make the ask. And so we're committed to also continuing to, do the same, not reach out to more than one person, reach out to 10 people and resend it to our networks. And I'm wondering if there's a goal. And I know, for, a short-term goal, even, or, medium, long-term goal that we can sort of, put out there in the world.
Kelly's question is, we're trying to raise $250,000, y'all, and we know we can do that. And I believe we can do that before April 11th.
Yes.
Right? And the reason why, to your point, is that there are already many women knocking on the door, like, I want to go. Lucia shared a story of a sister who's like, I'm thinking about the check that would either pay for the repair of my roof in this painful winter, or to get to the summit. And we don't want our sisters to have to make those kinds of choices, right? But that's what people are literally thinking about today. And so 250,000 is, go ahead.
250,000 is the total goal. Just to name, here are some levels of different ways you can partner with us to ensure that your grantees, to ensure that your partners, to ensure even that your staff who are women of color and gender expansive leaders can join us at the summit. Essentially, this not only covers their costs for the summit, but also they will have access to Ma Mukti's virtual programs through 2026. So we think about this infusion of endurance training at the summit, but also a sustained community throughout 2026. And with this sponsorship and with what we are describing here on the screen, we have the ability also to support our first ever Ma Mukti Legacy Award. We want to ensure that we are modeling and that we are able to really put an anchor around not like a 1 week sabbatical and not like a even 1 month sabbatical, but a meaningful space for a leader that will be established through this legacy award to get the kind of respite and spaciousness that they need to be able to come back into our movement space. So our awardee, our first inaugural awardee is Rusia. And we hope that through sustained support for the summit, which takes place every other year, that we will be able to continue to honor the legacy and the work and the generational impact that women of color and gender expansive leaders have. So essentially, there are some tiers here, but we're looking at a $3,000 investment in each leader that supports both this legacy award and their full participation in the summit. And again, which also gives them access to all virtual programming that happens quite frequently through 2026. And as Manuela has said a couple of times, we are aiming to hit the $250,000 mark, which will support kind of a fully funded summit, as well as the Legacy Award. And I'll just say that in addition to Manuela, who has sponsored a cadre of grantees to be with us, we also heard from the New York Women's Foundation that they will be supporting a number of grantees, partners to attend. We also have heard from grant makers for girls of color and are in conversation with 2 additional funders who we hope will commit to sending grantee partners.